if we're going to speak about yoga, then not only can we not leave out the topic of meditation, the whole conversation should lead us towards meditation. The fact that somehow yoga and meditation have become separate things in the modern world is a very good indication that we've lost touch with the true essence of yoga, because really you cannot separate them. Meditation is yoga. So before we get into that, we have to go back another layer and really make this distinction between yoga and asana. Most people in the modern day, if you ask them what is yoga, they will tell you it's poses, it's postures. But you know, if you go to India and you tell someone you're a yoga teacher, they will expect you to teach meditation. That's just how it is, because yoga and meditation, they're one and the same thing. Asana is a small part of yoga, but it's not yoga. Whereas meditation really is the complete flowering of the science of yoga. So before we get into a dialogue around mantra and move towards discussing the japa mala beads, I just want to precursor all that with a chat about meditation and kind of flesh that out a little bit and look at it through the lens of the yoga tradition. So meditation from this path, the path of traditional yoga, would break meditation up into three very distinct sections. The first we call Dharana, the second Dhyana, and the third Samadi. Now in the first stage of meditation, what we're doing is we're developing the capacity to concentrate. It's moving from a distracted mindset to a mind that moves in a single direction. Now at this first level of meditation in the Dharana stage, it isn't as important what we focus our attention on. What is important is that we develop the ability to concentrate. So this is Dharana. Now in the second stage, it becomes much more important about what our object of concentration is. And this is called Dhyana. The reason it's important is because if you believe the yoga tradition, or even if you believe what quantum physics is now telling us about the world, is that it's all energy. And really, it's the same energy that makes up me, the floor, the space, you, everything. So there's one energy permeating all things, configured differently. So what the yogis believe is that to that which we pay attention, we make real. You know, you see it on bumper stickers and, you know, cheesy t-shirts and things like that. Energy flows where attention goes, and things like this. And that's an extremely cheesy thing to say, but the reality is, at least yoga's reality, is that that's the way that it is. It's true. So what the yogis believe is that through the practice of focusing in on a specific object, a line of communication opens up between the meditator and the object of meditation, and that object begins to share its essential nature with the meditator. So you can see that meditating on a rock, or meditating on something like the Gayatri Mantra, or a picture of Shiva, or a statue of Lakshmi, is going to give you very different results, because you start to share energy with that object that you are concentrating on. So this is at the second stage. This is called Dharana. And in the third stage, Samadhi, it's when the line of communication opens to a point where the meditator actually becomes the object of meditation. They become one. They meet in the middle. right? So now the question is, so what is the ultimate object of meditation? The answer is singular. The answer is, regardless of which faction of yoga you ask, whether it's the classical yogis, the Vedantics, the Tantrics, whoever it is, mantra. Mantra is considered the number one object of meditation. Why? Because what is mantra? Mantra is sound. Now, if you ask the yogis, and again, if you ask the scientists, not even the quantum physicists, if you ask the regular physicists, and if you ask them to set you up, say, an electron microscope, which is a really high-powered microscope, and if under that microscope you stick your hand, or a block of wood, or a shoe, or a cat, or whatever it is, what you see is not a solid object. You see energy. You see subatomic particles vibrating and configuring into specific patterns that give the illusion to our limited senses that it's a solid object. But it's not a solid object. Beneath the coating of material reality is the deeper reality that everything exists in its fundamental form as vibration. Now, whether we have the capacity to hear that vibration or not, and humans have a very, very small range of auditory capacity, but whether we can hear it or not, if something is vibrating, it is producing sound. And what is vibrating? Everything is vibrating. Everything that is and everything that isn't, meaning the space in between everything that is, all of it is vibrating. In other words, this is a symphony. What's going on here is a symphony, and they call that symphony, when it comes together, Aum. That's what it is. So the yogis found that by using sound, it was the most direct path into that realm beyond the visible realm. So mantra is considered the number one object of meditation. Meditation is considered the master key, and within that, mantra is considered the supreme object of meditation. Mantra is a combination of two words, man and tra. Man comes from the root word manas, which means mind, and tra comes from trang, which means to protect. So it's considered mind protection, which is a very beautiful, it's a very beautiful way to look at mantra. Now, a lot of the time when we think about mantra, we think about the mantra that we speak. However, this is only the peripheral luster of mantra. It's the first layer. Mantra done vocally, and when we speak about mantra, we're not talking about kirtan, and which is also very beautiful. I love kirtan, I love to chant, but this is more leaning into the bhakti path than the path of meditation and the path of yoga. So when we talk mantra in yogic terms, we're talking about mantra repetition. So it's without the melody, it's without the musical accompaniment, it's just straight mantra, repeating in a monotone at a certain rate, a certain pulse. So when we chant mantra in this way, and we chant it vocally, this is like the first stage. This is like your down dog and your uttanasana, and this is like your warm up. And vocal mantra, it affects the conscious mind, which is great. It starts to work into this idea of Dharana, which is to help the mind move from a distracted state. So it helps protect the mind from distraction and move it into a single line. But the real essence of mantra is not chanting it vocally. And surprisingly, it's not even chanting it silently or mentally. That's the second layer down, but it's not the final layer. So the second layer down is once you have familiarized and trained in the vocal version of the mantra, then you start to take it internally and you repeat it mentally, and this starts to work into the deeper layers of the mind and the unconscious. However, what the yogis believe is that mantras predate everything and all of us. Mantras are not something that we created. It's quite the opposite. It's like the mantras created us. And that if there were no mantras here, then the physical universe would completely collapse. It is the mantras which create the energetic grid or blueprint that sustains the material reality. So really what we're doing is we are chanting these mantras vocally and then mentally to attune our minds to the mantras which are already there. Om is already everywhere. The Gayatri mantra is already resounding throughout the universe. And we are just practicing to align ourselves to those sacred vibrations. For our mantra practice, ideal to use a set of japa mala beads. I'll say this, however. If you are going to use mala beads as a meditation tool, as a mantra tool, keep them or use them as a sacred object and respect them in that way. A lot of the time, malas malas have become a very like yoga itself, they've become very fashionable, and that's cool, and I like that because it's bringing yoga and it's bringing spirituality and it's bringing mindfulness to the forefront of modern culture, and I really love that. And at the same time, we need to make sure that we hold on to the traditional essence of the practice, and one of those traditions is that we would have malas that, say, we would wear on the outside of our shirt, and we would have malas that we would wear on the inside of our shirt, and they would be our sacred ones. They would be our meditation beads. So mala beads show up in all different sorts of cultures. So the Jainas, they practice with beads. The yogis, the Hindus, the Buddhists, even the Christians have their own version of mala beads. They call them rosary beads, but they chant in exactly the same way. Now, when we chant with mala beads, a good little pointer is to leave the pointer finger out of the equation. So, if we look at the hand, this actually is the what I love about this is the sign language symbol for I love you. So that's cool. Also, if you see priests chanting their mantras and doing the bell, they're also using this symbol. This is pointing down towards the earth, this is pointing towards the heart, and this is pointing towards the heavens. So we follow that sort of map when we're chanting japa mala, and quite simply we leave this one out. In the yogic tradition, this is considered the ego finger, so we keep that out of the equation and just simply slide the beads back over the middle finger with the thumb. Again, this is just a little way of honoring tradition, in the same way that we, for instance, when we take Shavasana, you wouldn't have your feet towards the front of the room, towards the teacher or towards the shrine, because that just shows a little bit of disrespect. So we turn the head towards the shrine or towards the teacher, in the same way that we leave our middle finger, our index finger out of our mantra practice. So the typical set of japamala beads will consist of 108 beads. The Christians, their beads have 54. 54 adds up to 9. 108 adds up to 9. You'll also find mala beads of 27 also adds up to 9. So you can see the theme there, and it is the number 9, which is considered a very sacred number, something that represents the unified whole. So all of the individual pieces coming together, much like the frequency of Om. But this idea of 108 is also something that we come across a lot in the yogic tradition, and it has a lot of symbolic and energetic meaning. Again, this is the fancy thing to do, to wear the mala beads like this, with a little tufty bit hanging down. That's super cool. But really, the malas go like this, with the tufty bit, or the big bit, at the back of the neck. Why? Because that is a representation of your crown chakra and the opening of your crown chakra. Whereas these 108 beads here are representative of the 108 pitams within your body. So there are 108 sacred sites within your body, just like there are 108 sacred sites across India. So each time we chant one of our mantras, Aum, 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 we switch on one of these little pitams, which are like mini chakras. They're points where energy comes together. So in chanting 108 rounds, we essentially purify the energetic pooling points within the entire system of the body. So 108, again, it's one of these very magical numbers that shows up in nature a lot. For example, the diameter of the Earth is 1/108th of the diameter of the Sun. In other words, the diameter of the Sun is 108 times that of the diameter of the Earth, which is super cool. Here's another one. The diameter of the Sun, if you take that diameter and you times that by 108, that is the distance between the Sun and the Earth. Like, how mind-blowing is that? So whoever designed this universe, they used the number 108 mathematically to put everything in its proper order and to get energy moving through it in its proper way. And it's the same with us. And we can access that inner energetic grid by hitting the mantra 108 times. So in terms of what mantra to chant, the best is Om. You cannot go past the mantra Om. Whether you speak to the tantrics or you speak to the classical yogis, in all of the texts it says this is the direct path. Other mantras which I would recommend chanting are the Gayatri mantra or the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. Trayambakam yujamahe sagundim pushti vardhanam. So one of these two mantras, if you're looking for a longer mantra, Om if you're just looking to go straight to the point, or if you want something a little bit in between, you can work with Soham or the mantra Rama. All of these are considered open mantras. Some mantras are open, some mantras are closed. With the open mantras, everyone has access to their spiritual potency. So pick one of those 5, get yourself some mala beads, sit down, leave the index finger out of the equation, and chant yourself into meditative bliss. Namaste.